Not since the close of the last century has the University of Cumbria's Ambleside campus been called the Charlotte Mason College. And yet today her name is still seen on various buildings, prompting visitors and students to ask, who is Charlotte Mason? Indeed, who is Charlotte Mason? The current campus director, Professor Lois Mansfield, wondered this herself, and after some fruitful conversations which extended to North America, Mansfield soon became acquainted with some researchers and practitioners from the Charlotte Mason Institute based in Virginia. And as a result, late in the year 2020, the University of Cumbria's Ambleside campus and the university's Institute of Education offered appointments to 4 visiting research fellows in Charlotte Mason studies. Their main task would be to remind who Charlotte Mason was and connect her legacy with primary and secondary education today. They would do so through leading and participating in internationally collaborative research, writing, and convening. I'm Deeney Van Pelt from Toronto, Canada. I'm a board member with the Charlotte Mason Institute, and I'm delighted to be one of the visiting research fellows. I'd love to introduce you to the others and share a little bit about what we plan to do with our 5-year tenures. First, let's hear from the university.
Hello, my name is Professor Lois Mansfield, and I'm the director of the Ambleside campus, which is a really special place because this is Charlotte Mason's House of Education, and it's part of our university campus. And I'm absolutely delighted that Charlotte Mason Institute are running this conference this year. One of the things we're very keen to do is to have visiting research fellows, and we're very privileged to have 4 working with us now from the Charlotte Mason Institute. And their value is absolutely critical to what we're trying to do. And we're trying to spread the word of Charlotte Mason and how important her ways of learning for young people are in the future, because times have changed and it's now a different world in which we live. And I think Charlotte Mason has a huge amount to offer to the way we think about teaching and learning for young people.
Among professional educators today, Charlotte Mason is an unsung, unknown educational theorist and practitioner. Professor Berg, after she died, who, by the way, also interviewed C.S. Lewis, made the following comment: "I sometimes wonder how it was that the Victorian age produced women leaders of such distinction compared with their successors today. What was it about her and her life's work that made her successful and caused her to have an impact on the lives of others, even 20 years now into the 21st century? That means her life work has now stretched over 3 centuries. Why? Why is she still relevant? What did she say or do that makes her relevant for today? How did she lead the organizations that she led from the Lake District without the internet? As the first CMI scholar in residence at the University of Cumbria, I plan to work with Dr. John Thorley, who was the last, as I say, principal, we would say president, of the Charlotte Mason College, to complete a book on some aspects of the correspondence of Charlotte Mason. One of the issues I personally want to delve into is to look at some of the possibilities of her leadership style, to see if I can figure out what and why she was so successful. Hi, my name is Carol Smith. My wife, Andra, and I founded the Charlotte Mason Institute, along with some other great people. I have been a teacher, a principal, a former professor, and a dean of the School of Education at Gardner-Webb University. Dr. Thorley and I hope to produce a monograph on the letters that Mason wrote to Henrietta Franklin, and then maybe a book of some of her letters from the collection at the Armitt. Please watch for these related lectures and monographs coming in the months and years ahead.
Charlotte Mason's principles and practices have great potential to contribute to education today and tomorrow. She's an enduring member of the education vanguard, and when we look closely at good educational practices identified in current research, we often find resonance with Mason's design for education. I'm Dr. Jennifer Spencer, director of Charlotte Mason's Alviary, a full curriculum published by the Charlotte Mason Institute, and former founder and principal of a Charlotte Mason-inspired school. During my tenure as a visiting research fellow, I plan to draw out the principles and practices of Mason's design for education by situating them within their context or zeitgeist of the era in which they were developed, and then within the zeitgeist of our own day, when once again they are attracting much attention. In my writing, I'll be considering why and in what ways Mason's model for education has resonated in educational thought and practice over the last century, and casting a vision for carrying her ideas into the next century. Mason's principles had little to do with grades, test scores, or career preparation. They were about teaching us all to be more of a person through cultivating wide interests, magnanimous character, humane boundaries, and deeper thinking relationships with ideas, people, places, and things. These elements are timeless, and they can speak much-needed wisdom into today's social issues. I believe that Mason is an educationalist for all times, and that her enduring ideas have the potential to inspire teachers and students in ways they've not yet imagined. I look forward to working with the faculty and the students at the University of Cumbria and with local educators in order to invite Mason's ideas to breathe freely in the 21st century and beyond.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Jack Beckman. If Charlotte Mason was right, then education is indeed a life, as I've spent over 40 years under the regulus and patterns of teaching and learning. Initially as an early childhood educator in the classroom, then as an educational leader in a number of American schools using Charlotte Mason's model, and finally as professor of elementary education and department chair at Covenant College in Lookout Mountain, Georgia. Each of these contexts has allowed me the privilege of working with students, teachers, and parents on a variety of levels involving instructional pedagogy, curriculum development, and teacher professional learning. Charlotte Mason is a significant contributor to the field of pedagogy and the history of education. She was a female educator of depth and determination whose life and work has received little attention and critical study. Equally, the voices and stories that echo through the halls of the House of Education are largely untold or forgotten. I believe it is time for these voices to be heard and to explore their stories and to discover how they are relevant in terms of ideas and practices in light of extant research. I'm pleased to have been appointed as a visiting research fellow in Charlotte Mason Studies. And during my tenure, I hope to draw upon and extend my doctoral thesis at Cambridge University and offer an historical accounting of the lives and experiences of key persons in the life and work of Charlotte Mason, including college principals, teacher candidates, and students who lived and learned at the college. For Mason to be relevant to a 21st century world and audience, historical context, particularly through the voices and perspectives of her contemporaries, is an essential foundation upon which new understandings may be built. In particular, I plan to explicate the work and words of 4 subsequent principles of the House of Education. I will also explore how teacher professional identity was inculcated through Mason's model of teacher training. And finally, I plan to examine the phenomena of the children's gatherings for students who are involved in the Parent National Educational Union. As a visiting research fellow, I look forward to the opportunity of collaborating with current Mason schools and the University of Cumbria as we engage and develop critical studies of Mason's pedagogy and model.
Charlotte Mason offers parents and educators a number of key educational insights, most of which resonate as common sense, but which largely remain unarticulated in the education mainstream of our times. I'm endlessly intrigued by Mason's views for teaching and learning, including her understanding of the child as a person, and as the educator, as one who can be masterfully inactive. Mason's claims that all worthy education is ultimately self-education, and that education is a science of building relations, is a pedagogical direction that holds promise for our times, particularly as we seek to answer questions about democracy, citizenship, and flourishing in the 21st century. I'm Deeney Van Pelt, former lead researcher with the digitization of the Armament Museum's Charlotte Mason collection and a visiting research fellow in Charlotte Mason Studies at the University of Cumbria. During my appointment, I hope to be lead editor of a series of monographs written by Charlotte Mason scholars and practitioners from across the world. The series is designed to highlight and to explicate, within the lens of current research, key themes, theories, principles, and practices of Mason that position her as an educationalist of enduring innovative relevance for learning, for education, and for development in our times. Each attractively designed and reasonably priced monograph will draw on artifacts from the Armament Museum and will engage the perspectives and the voices of educators and theorists that are deeply interested in exploring and explicating the enduring relevance of Mason for Ambleside, for the UK, and for the educational world beyond.
So one of the things we're trying to do here at the University of Cumbria is to raise up the profile of Charlotte Mason, because we think she's really important in how young people learn, particularly at the moment in relation to how the world has changed in relation to the pandemic and how we go forward from here. So Charlotte Mason's ideas and principles about learning through doing, kinesthetic learning, and learning from the outside world, we think are absolutely crucial. And they're two of the fundamental things that we do here at the University of Cumbria. And that's why we're so thrilled to continue to work with the Charlotte Mason Institute. So working in collaboration is absolutely key to us. And if anyone else who comes to this conference is interested in working with the University of Cumbria, do get in touch with me and you can get my contact details from Deeney. Thank you very much and have a fantastic conference.
Would you like to join in? Are you a scholar, a researcher, or a writer? Are you a school leader, an educator, a parent? Whether you're a theorist or a practitioner, whether you're deeply involved in good education or applaud it from afar, we hope that you will consider learning more with us about how Charlotte Mason's legacy and her ideas for education hold promise for innovation and flourishing in teaching and learning today.